Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here with our weekly astrological reading. This is for the week of August 6th through August 12th. Okay, so this week is a pretty light week in terms of transits. There's not a ton of transits, but there are a couple pretty big ones on specific days. But overall, this week is really about the moon heading through its cycle on the way to next week's new moon in Leo. The moon will enter Taurus this week, and then it'll move into Cancer. So this week is really about starting to still releasing, cleansing. That's definitely a huge theme of the week. Because it's August, because we're in this review period, because Mercury is in its pre-retrograde shadow, and Venus is still in retrograde. We are still in review. We're focusing on details, but we're focusing also on love, beauty, and passion, in review, all of those things. So while all that's going on, we're focusing so internally. We've been called this week a little bit, or we will be called this week, to focus some of that stuff outwardly. Whether that feels right for us or not is up to us, and in the dailies we'll go over that in much more detail. But I really want us to lock in this week to our new moon intention for next week. That new moon in Leo next week. I want us to use this internal and external focus to lock into a few things and start to really hone in on that new moon intention. I really want, in August, we have 2 full moons. We just had one in Aquarius, and we'll have one later in Pisces. This new moon in Leo that's coming up next week kind of sits right in the middle. And so this is our chance during this whole review process to either reset our intention or to add to our intention this idea of pride, of leadership, but also of warmth. So before we get to that new moon, though, this week is calling for us to add internal and external review, add that to an intention, or to coming up with and kind of embracing some kind of new idea, some kind of new intentional focus, or some kind of just new, literally just a new intention. Incorporating all of that into some kind of intention for forward momentum, some kind of intention of utilizing what we've learned so far for the betterment of others too. Basically, we want to use this internal and external review, the stuff we've been learning about ourselves, and want to convey to others. And maybe this week there are some moments we're being called to do that, like I said. But we want to really focus on intention setting. Intention setting is the name of the game, either adding to an intention or setting an entirely new one. But either way, this week is about reviewing internal, external, in order to be able to set an intention that helps us lead and helps us be proud and also gives us joy. I want to really focus on joy. But let's go over a couple of the specific transits that happened this week that I think are important, besides all of the moon stuff I just mentioned. And again, guys, we'll be going over each of these daily in our daily readings in much more detail. But at the beginning of the week, we have the Sun squaring Jupiter, the Sun in Leo squaring Jupiter in Taurus, and that was really calling for kind of keeping ourselves in check a little bit. So that's an important one, but also an internal focus as well. And then on Wednesday this week, we have Mercury in its pre-retrograde shadow in Virgo, trining Jupiter in Taurus, the same day that Venus in retrograde in Leo squares Uranus also in Taurus. So again, a lot more detail on that daily coming up on Wednesday. But for today, I wanted to mention those because in preparation for that, start thinking at the beginning of the week about how, what, and with whom you want to share what you've learned on this journey and how comfortable you are. Because on Wednesday, you'll have a choice. And you'll see what I mean on Wednesday. I'll talk in much more detail about that. But so this weekly review is going to be mainly focused on, because those transits and the moon heading to a new moon It's all about reviewing inside in order to express outside. Internal review for outward expression. It's kind of how I'm looking at this. So I did a weekly tarot reading as usual. I used the Marseille deck again because I felt called to, but I also want to keep, as you can tell, there are some complexities this week, but I wanted to try to keep it broad and kind of open. And so I like to use the Marseille deck when I don't want to have, where I want to kind of have a more broad perspective on what the cards are saying. And so that's what I wanted to do this week. My intention for this week's tarot reading is expansive, intuitive understanding. So the intuitive part is about inside. What we've learned, what we see, what we know. Trusting ourselves too. The expansive understanding is the outer, the external. How we use that intuition to express ourselves, or at least to express our newfound understanding of ourselves. I think that will help us formulate that intention for next week's new moon. So let's get started on our tarot reading. Okay, so I shuffle the deck as usual. I'm repeating my intention, expansive, intuitive understanding. Those key words are essential. And I really hope I'm able to get clarity on what that means for me through this reading. For this week's spread, I chose the Major Arcana reading for the High Priestess. This is about intuitive understanding. It's about how we can express that. But mainly it's about figuring out how we can unlock kind of the mysteries within us, unlock our intuition in order to express that. Express that to others, or perhaps just express that into an intention. So let's really take a minute to center ourselves, repeat that intention. I want you to think about the moon here a lot while I'm shuffling. I want you to really tap into the essence of Luna while I am completing my shuffle. And I'll be doing the same. Okay, so I've brought the deck from chaos into unity, and I'm ready to draw my first card. The first card is in the position of mystery. And the card that I draw in mystery is the Six of Cups reversed. The Six of Cups reversed in the mystery position is definitely showing me that we are still trying to break away from the past in some way, particularly in the realm of memories, potentially being wrapped up in memories of the past. There's a hint here that that's possible. That maybe the mystery lies in breaking away from the past. I think the Six of Cups reversed, especially here, is telling us that the mystery can be unraveled if we do just that. If we break away from being locked too much into thoughts of the past. regrets, even just memories, good or bad, there is a chance here that the mystery lies in moving from a thought process of focusing on the past to a process of focusing on the future. We are in this process of review right now. This week was a lot about looking in to express out. This intention is about that as well. I think what the 6 reversed here is saying is that the mystery, what we need to unlock, isn't going to lie in only focusing on the past. This detail-oriented review, if we're only reviewing the details of the past, if we're only reviewing the details of things that have already happened, we're lost in mystery, and we're not discovering what our intuition's actually saying, which is to look forward. The review needs to be on the present, certainly. We want to review how we actually are right now. But the review also needs to be with a focus on the future. And the 6 of Cups reversed here is saying, turn that focus from the past into a focus on the future. So maybe our detailed, focused review stuff that this journey we've been on, maybe this internal part of this week, the internal review of this week, maybe that's saying, don't focus that on the past. Turn that focus to the future. Turn that focus on reviews into how you want your future to look like, what you want to be able to do in the future. Potentially even how you want to express yourself in the future, and focus on those details of what that future looks like, rather than focusing on something that's already happened. I think that's how I'm reading this. But let's keep going and check out the rest. The second card that I draw is in the position of avoidance. And the card that I draw in avoidance is the 7 of Pentacles. The 7 of Pentacles here in the avoidance position, I think is saying a lot about our approach. It ties in a little bit with how with the 6 of Cups reversed, how we were maybe focusing too much on the past and needing to focus on the future. I think the 7 of Pentacles here is saying, in the avoidance position, is saying that we are avoiding looking at what we've already accomplished in a positive way. By focusing on the past, we're avoiding looking at the accomplishments we've already achieved. By focusing too much on what we did as opposed to what we've created, we are getting lost in the past, and we're not being able to look at all of the stuff we've already done, how we've set up our present to get ready for the future. We're missing that because we are probably, this card is maybe implying, avoiding that. We're maybe also avoiding how we could use what we have already created for others. How we can use what we've already done, what we've already succeeded at, accomplishments we've already done. We're avoiding looking at how those could help us and how that could help us help others. That's what I see in the 7 of Pentacles in the avoidance position. We have all these accomplishments. We've learned so much on our review. We've done so much already. But we're focusing on the past, perhaps. And that's creating this sense of avoidance of what we have in front of us, what we've already done, of appreciating and feeling proud of our accomplishments. And then looking at those accomplishments, we're avoiding looking at them to see how useful they could be for us and others. That's how I'm seeing that. But let's keep going. We want to get a full picture of this expansive, intuitive understanding and how we can apply that to intention setting for next week's new moon. The third card that I draw is in the position of unconscious fear. Unconscious fear. The card that I draw here is the King of Swords reversed. The King of Swords reversed in the unconscious fear position is telling me that somewhere deep within us, maybe some place within us that we are trying to find this week in particular, maybe some place we are trying to uncover within ourselves, but definitely a place that, again, we may be avoiding because of fear we aren't really even aware of. under all of that is the King of Swords reversed. And what he is hiding from us, the fear that's hidden from us, is a fear that maybe we're approaching our review process too selfishly. There is a fear that we are letting selfishness and self-interested authority kind of almost this blinded sense of power from a selfish perspective. I think simply though, it's a fear of selfishness. Our unconscious fear is that we're being too selfish in this review process. So what that says to me is that we need to nip that in the bud right away. It's almost telling me if we're so afraid of being selfish, then maybe what's being called for is selfishness. That the fear of selfishness shows me that our mind's in the right place. If there's this unconscious underlying fear that we're being too selfish, that's keeping us from helping others, obviously there is the want to help others. So you're in the right place. So let go of any sense that an internal review, that a tapping into your intuition is selfish. Let go of that. Or embrace it. Be selfish in your review process. You're reviewing, guys. You're reviewing your details. We are reviewing so much about ourselves, about how we focus, how we stay assertive, about how we deal with love and beauty. We are in this process. But that has to start with us. It's like I was saying, in this week really is calling for an internal focus in order to express. If we're worried about being selfish, then our heart's in the right place. So let yourself be that. Let yourself focus on the self. Don't let it create fear. I think that's what this card's saying above all. Maybe it's not calling for be selfish this week, but maybe it is. But I think what it really is saying here is don't be afraid of that. If you do have an unconscious fear of being selfish, your heart's in the right place. So let it go. Let's move on to the next card. The next position is conscious desire. And the card that I draw here is the Queen of Swords. And she's upright. Instantly, we get a balance to that reverse King of Swords, fear of selfishness. Instantly, we get a reminder that our true desire, while we may be afraid that we're being selfish, our true desire is to be authoritative, powerful, and strong in our intellectualism, in our intellect, in our intellectual approach. Using our knowledge, the knowledge we gained from the knowledge we are gaining from our thorough review of the self. The knowledge we're gaining from that, using that knowledge to help everyone we can, to be authoritative, to be a leader. Remember, this new moon coming up is in Leo. So if we're intention setting this week, then thinking about that. Our desire, the desire we know we want, our conscious desire, is the Queen of Swords. Intellectual, authoritative vision. That's what we want. And we know we want that. It's another reason to let go of selfish fear, because it's the sword's energy being shown as the proper authority. It's the sword's energy of intellect, of stability and emotions. It's that power being used authoritatively. And that comes with a lot of self-trust. That may come from a lot of selfish introspection. The only way that the Queen of Swords is able to rule the way she does is because she trusts herself. She knows she can wield that sword not only confidently and knowledgeably, but compassionately as well. She can be balanced in her power. And that by having this card in conscious desire, it's showing that's what we want to. So that's a beautiful place to be. Let's keep going. The next card that I draw is in the position of work. So the work that we can do. The card that I draw here is the Page of Wands. The Page of Wands in the work position. So the position of the actual literal effort we can put in order to get to the place of the Queen of Swords. The actual literal work that we need to do to find out who we are, continue this review process, set our expansive but intuitive, leading with intuition, understanding of ourselves, using that to set an intention to be able to lead with intellectual authority. The work we need to do is represented here by the Page of Wands. What's so awesome about that to me is that it shows that the work we need to do is we need to imbue all of our efforts of internal exploration and external expression. We need to put into all of those efforts, we need to imbue a sense of passion, a sense of new beginnings, a sense of the desire to learn and to learn how to be driven, the desire to learn how we can use our passion to get to a place of intellectual authority. That's what the page here is telling me. It's saying the work we need to do, the work is to inject passion into every aspect of our review process. We are deep in a review process that will continue for several weeks, definitely a few weeks. It may even get more intense coming up. And it's a focus on details, it's a focus on asserting focus, but it's also a review of understanding ourselves, of understanding love, beauty, passion, pleasure as well. We've been on that with Venus retrograde. The Page of Wands is here to say, don't forget about your beginnings. Don't be afraid to start something fresh. Always be in review. But don't lose sight of how you can be almost youthful in your vibrant approach to this review process. You have to imbue fire and passion into that, but almost from a sense of newness, almost from a sense of youthfulness. Don't lose sight of that. You can't be strong and proud and powerful and authoritative or super knowledgeable and intellectual if you don't have the balance of passion. If you don't have the balance of wands, the swords can be cold. So the Page of Wands is saying, don't forget fire. In fact, the work you need to do, the stuff you need to do, has to be imbued with fire. Okay, let's move on to the next and final card. That card is in the position of higher wisdom. And the card that I draw here is the Tower reversed. The Tower reversed in higher wisdom shows me that there is potentially a deep-seated reticence within us to be liberated. There is the sense here that our higher wisdom, again, this is a high priestess reading, remember, so she is higher wisdom incarnate. Some part of us is hesitant to be completely free. Or some part of us is afraid, and this may be going back to unconscious fear with that King of Swords reversed. Some part of us is afraid to go on this journey of self-discovery. Some part of us, maybe it's our ego, maybe it's our subconscious, but some part of us is trying to keep us from being free, to keep us from going through this process of self-discovery and turning that into expression and having that have a liberating effect. What this higher wisdom card is also, what the tower reversed in higher wisdom is showing me is that we have to free ourselves from that thought, from that fear, and we have to go through this process. We need to feel everything that this exploration needs us to feel. We have to go through it. It may be difficult, it may be trying. If we're incorporating the work of passion into that, if we're letting go of the idea that selfishness is wrong and embracing this self-centered journey, if we're doing all of that, if we're not allowing ourselves to engage in that, we won't be able to sit in the authority of the Queen of Swords. We won't be able to unite knowledge and intuition to be expansive and powerful. We won't, most of all, this card is saying, we won't be able to be liberated from what we need to be liberated from. With Mercury going retrograde this month, in a couple weeks, we won't have a choice. The journey will be happening. We will be going through what we're going to go through. So the Tower reversed in higher wisdom is saying, listen to your intuition. Let go of fear. Let go of the past. Focus on what you've gained and what you've accomplished, but only on how that can affect your future. Let go of all fear that you're being self-centered. In fact, be self-centered if you need to be. Let go of the fear that the journey may be too hard, that you may find things that are really scary. Inject the journey and your process with passion and fire, and you will get what you desire, which is to be authoritative, to be able to use the knowledge that you've gained through all of that stuff, to be liberated enough to liberate others. That's what this spread is telling me. The High Priestess wants us to know that in order to be expansive and intuitive, and in order to understand ourselves, and then use that to set intentions, an intention to help others, ourselves and others, the only way to do that is to go through this process and liberate yourself. If you can do that, you can help liberate others. You can bring all the knowledge you've learned and are continuing to learn and will continue to learn. We can use all of that knowledge in the end to sit in a place of authority and be able to help others because we helped ourselves. That's how I'm going to focus on the week. I hope you have a wonderful week, guys. I hope you use all of the knowledge you've learned to set intentions to help others. I'll see you next week.